Martin. I'm a lifelong Chicagoan and a member of Socialist Alternative. And let me start this off with a pun. This year, we have 2020 vision. Medicare for all, we don't just want it, we need it. We need these exorbitant student debts off our backs. Our children need a Green New Deal to confront the climate crisis. And when they ask us, how are you going to pay for that? We will say, tax the rich.
Hell yeah.
Or even better, nationalize multinational corporations. Many believe that these ideas, these policies alone are why the ruling elite fear a Bernie win, and to some extent, it is. Good policies have their place, and that's why so many progressives are picking them up. But that's not what the ruling class fears the most. Politics as usual, have always been a rich man's sport. Inaccessible and out of touch to so many working people. Politics has always just been voting every 4 years and not getting involved with the movement. And that's what the billionaire class is afraid of the most. What they fear is right there in the slogan. Not him, but us.
Mm-hmm.
They hate it when Bernie Sanders says that he's going to be the organizer-in-chief. The political revolution he calls for is for a new brand of politics. As Barbara Smith of the Combahee Collective wrote in The Guardian this last week, he understands that the most substantial and meaningful change comes from the bottom up, not the top down. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, to name two examples, would not have happened without movement organizing. The ruling elite fears a Sanders presidency and a multiracial working class grassroots movement because Bernie is calling for a serious struggle against the billionaire class and their Wall Street agenda. We, Socialist Alternative, a nationwide organization looking to build movements shifting power to the working class, took up this call just last fall with Amazon when they tried to buy up Seattle's elections, pouring unprecedented millions into the city council to fight back against one main goal: to defeat Kshama Sawant, the Socialist Alternative member and fighter for working class people. And our grassroots movement fought back instead against the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. And we won.
Woo.
Bezos, the CEO of tax-dodging trillion-dollar organization, Amazon, you may have heard of him, who makes himself $2,489 every second. More than twice what the average US worker in 1 week makes, was trying to buy up that election. Mike Bloomberg. But we built a stronger movement and we won. And we are using that momentum in Seattle to tax Amazon and make Seattle affordable for all, including a recent victory against winter evictions.
Yeah.
And we want to build a movement nationally to win Bernie his place in the White House. We need to build a movement to win his program, using that momentum to build a better society for working people here and all over the world. What the billionaire class fears the most is the spread of confidence of the working class, the poor, and the most oppressed, and their ability to fight back. And if the last year of workers' struggle, climate crisis and strikes, the protests and broad rejection of corporate establishments means anything, the billionaire class should be afraid.
That's right.
The DNC, on behalf of the Democratic Party, we see is willing to not only preserve the status quo, but to show quite seriously that they are willing to twist the rules to the will of the oligarchs, as Nina Turner correctly calls them. Will it be the billionaire's favorite candidate, Buttigieg, and like we saw in Iowa? Or the billionaire candidate himself, former Republican mayor, Mr. Stop and Frisk, Mike Bloomberg, being allowed to compete? And the murmurs have already started to stop Bernie with the superdelegates. And that's on the horizon just last week. But hindsight is, in fact, 2020. And our vision is clear. We dealt with 4 years of Trump. And there are millions of people joining the movement to fight back. Millions of people who will vote for the socialist Bernie Sanders and fight like hell to build the movement in the street necessary to win his program. We will not accept the Democratic Party establishment and the ruling class rigging the primaries against Bernie Sanders.
Woo!
Just 4 years ago in 2016, here in Chicago, we turned out thousands to our marches for Bernie. 3,000 in January, 5,000 in February. Our movement should do this again this year before the primaries to indicate to Chicago, to the greater Democratic Party, and to all politicians everywhere that this movement will not go away. We should march in the streets and turn our power into door knockings, phone bankings, tabling at every train station, because yes, they might have the power, they might have the money, but we have the people. Because it's not me, it's us. And as we prepare to bring our struggle to Milwaukee in July, and I hope you join us, we should discuss political perspectives at our phone banks and other events, educating supporters both old and new. When we meet people at the doors, we should be signing them up to volunteer, to get involved in the politics of movement building. We should use these meetings like this one to discuss how, win or lose. How do we win these demands, these necessities, these policies that could change the lives of millions? These face-to-face discussions at the doors and on the streets, and the meetings like these should operate as a springboard, serving as a middle step to grow to a much larger conference of Bernie supporters after the election or after the primary, where we can use the multiracial, multi-gendered, multi-generational Bernie campaign, free of corporate cash, and full of movements like the labor movement, Sunrise, March for Our Lives, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Occupy, Socialist Movement, and the workers as a backbone for a new party to take on the billionaire class, both here and globally. Socialist Alternative is hosting door knocks in Pilsen and in Rogers Park this weekend and every weekend. And we're on board for a march. Check out our table and join us in building this movement. And I want to close with the strongest Bernie quote that I can think of. If there's going to be class warfare in this country, it's about time the working class won that war.
Woo!
This is how we win. Solidarity.